If you do not find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. This isn't a motivational quote from some modern guru. This is a biblical warning written 3,000 years ago by the wealthiest man who ever lived. King Solomon wrote in Ecclesiastes 5:12, "The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much, but as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep." Most people read that verse and think Solomon is complaining, but read it again. The laborer sleeps sweetly because he has no responsibility beyond his hours. The rich cannot sleep because their wealth is working, multiplying, demanding strategic decisions. Solomon is describing two completely different operating systems for life. Here's what's shocking. Solomon, the man worth $2.2 trillion in today's money, never sold a single hour of his time. Never. He built systems. He created structures. But he never traded hours for coins. And today, I'm showing you exactly how he did it and what you need to do starting this weekend to escape the trap. What I'm about to reveal in code number 4 will expose why the education system deliberately trained you to be an obedient worker instead of a sovereign owner. Drop your name and location in comments. Subscribe to Solomon Speaks, because what you're learning today isn't career advice. It's liberation theology for your finances. Let me paint your life right now. You wake up Monday morning, you drive to a building, you sit in a chair for 8, 9, maybe 10 hours. Someone tells you what to do, when to do it, even when you're allowed to eat or use the bathroom. In exchange, they give you a certificate called a paycheck. You think this is normal. But in the world that built kingdoms and created generational wealth, this behavior would be considered voluntary slavery. You are selling the only asset you can never recover. Time is finite inventory. Once you sell those hours, they're gone forever. Your income has a mathematical ceiling because you run out of time to sell. Proverbs 21:5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty." Notice it doesn't say the labor of the diligent. It says the plans. Most people are incredibly diligent workers, but terrible planners. They work hard their entire lives and retire broke. Here's where it gets darker. You were trained for this. Think about school. You were trained to sit still for 8 hours. You were trained to memorize instructions without questioning. You were trained to raise your hand and ask permission to speak or use the bathroom. You were trained to complete tasks assigned by an authority figure. These are not the skills of a king. These are the skills of a compliant servant. The education system wasn't designed to produce Solomons who build kingdoms. It was designed to produce workers who staff kingdoms built by others. And when you graduate, they hand you the ultimate chain called a salary. But once you see the mechanics of this trap, you can never unsee them. Code number 1. The Proverbs 6 ant system. Proverbs 6:6-8 gives you one of the most revolutionary business models ever written. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. The ant has no commander, no boss, no overseer, yet it prospers. How? Through systems. The ant doesn't work harder than other insects. It works smarter. It builds during abundance, stores systematically, and operates through instinct, not supervision. Most people think success requires constant oversight. That's employee thinking. Owner thinking says, I need to build something so robust that it functions whether I'm there or not. Look at Solomon's empire. 1 Kings 4 records his daily provisions: 30 cores of fine flour, 60 cores of meal, 10 fat oxen, 20 cattle, 100 sheep. Do you think Solomon personally managed every ox, measured every core of flour? Absolutely not. He built systems. He established protocols where people knew their roles and executed them excellently without constant supervision required. Now, apply this to your life. If you're a freelancer doing everything yourself, you don't have a business, you have a job with a bad boss. You need to document what you do, automate what you can. Eventually, delegate what remains. Your goal is to make yourself unnecessary to daily operations. Look at Lydia in Acts 16. She was a dealer in purple cloth. She didn't personally dye every piece of fabric or negotiate every transaction. She built a trading network that functioned across cities while she managed strategy. That's ant system thinking. Here's your application. Whatever you're doing for income, ask yourself, could this operate for 1 week without me? If the answer is no, you don't have an asset. You have active income that dies the moment you stop moving. Start documenting processes this weekend. Document like you're training your replacement. But building systems is just the foundation. There's a force multiplier that Solomon used to transform from prosperous to legendary. If you're going through difficulty in any area of your life right now, whether it's financial struggles, family challenges, health issues, or anything else, let us know in the comments. Say, I need prayer for your situation. We're a community, and we believe in standing together. James 5:16 says, the prayer of the righteous is powerful and effective. We'll pray for you. Code number 2. The Joseph Leverage Principle. Genesis 41 shows Joseph's promotion to second in command of Egypt. Pharaoh tells him, let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest during the 7 years of abundance. Notice what Joseph didn't do. He didn't personally collect grain. He didn't manage every storehouse. He didn't work 20-hour days. Joseph coordinated commissioners. Those commissioners coordinated collectors. Those collectors coordinated laborers. Joseph built a hierarchy of leverage. This is the principle most people never grasp. One person coordinating 1,000 people accomplishes exponentially more than one person working alone, no matter how hard. If Joseph had tried to personally collect grain, he might have filled a few warehouses. By leveraging an entire administrative structure, he saved a nation. Proverbs 11:14 says, for lack of guidance a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. Solomon understood that multiplication happens through people, not personal heroics. When he built the temple, 1 Kings 5 records, he conscripted 30,000 laborers, 70,000 carriers, 80,000 stonecutters, plus 3,300 foremen. Solomon didn't cut stones. He orchestrated stonecutters. Here's the brutal truth about selling time. You're always limited by personal capacity. 24 hours, 2 hands, 1 brain. But the moment you coordinate others, to pay people to extend your capacity, your potential becomes unlimited. Let me give you a modern example. There's a man who started a roofing company. For 3 years, he was on every roof, doing every estimate, answering every call. He made decent money, but worked 70 hours weekly. Then he hired his first crew. Suddenly, 2 roofs simultaneously. Second crew, 4 roofs. Hired an estimator. Now he could focus on contracts while others executed. Within 5 years, 12 crews across 3 states. He worked 30 hours weekly, making 20 times what he made, working 70 alone. That's Joseph Leverage. Start small. Hire a virtual assistant for 10 hours monthly. Pay a college student to handle social media. Each hire is practice for the day when you're coordinating hundreds. But here's what stops most people. They think, I can't afford to hire anyone. Wrong question. Right question. Can I afford not to? Because while you're doing $5 an hour tasks, you're losing $1,000 an hour opportunities. Every hour you spend on low-value work is an hour you're not spending on leverage. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but I still have bills to pay right now. You're absolutely right. Which brings us to the most important biblical principle about time. Code number 3, the Ecclesiastes time warning. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, there is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. Most people read this as poetic comfort. It's actually an economic warning. Time is the ultimate non-renewable resource. You cannot manufacture more of it. You can only spend it or invest it. When you sell your time for a salary, you're spending your most valuable asset on someone else's dream. Ecclesiastes 2:18 shows Solomon's frustration. I hated all the things I had toiled for under the sun, because I must leave them to the one who comes after me. Solomon is describing the employee trap perfectly. You work your entire life building someone else's company. They get the equity. They get the asset appreciation. They get the sellable business. You get a salary that stops the moment you stop working. Here's the mathematics. If you make $50,000 annually, working 2,000 hours, you're selling time for $25 per hour. Even if you never sleep, work every single day at $25 per hour. You max out at $219,000 yearly. That's your absolute mathematical ceiling. But look at Solomon's income. 1 Kings 10:14 records, the weight of the gold that Solomon received yearly was 666 talents. That's roughly 25 tons of gold annually. In today's value, approximately $1.5 billion per year. Did Solomon work 5 million times harder than a laborer? No. He built systems that generated wealth, whether he was awake or asleep. Proverbs 23:4-5 warns, "Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness." Solomon is saying, don't exhaust yourself working for wealth. Instead, build wealth that works for you. The question becomes, how do you transition from selling time to building systems when you still need income today? That's where Proverbs 31 becomes your blueprint. If you're going through difficulty in any area of your life right now, whether it's financial struggles, family challenges, health issues, or anything else, let us know in the comments. Say, I need prayer for your situation. We're a community, and we believe in standing together. James 5:16 says, the prayer of the righteous is powerful and effective. We'll pray for you. Code number 4, the Proverbs 31 Portfolio Strategy. Proverbs 31:16-18 describes the virtuous woman's business model. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. Notice the diversification: real estate, agriculture, commerce, multiple income streams. None require her constant physical presence. The vineyard grows while she sleeps. The field appreciates while she works on trading. This is portfolio thinking. Most employees have one source of income. If that job disappears, everything collapses. But Ecclesiastes 11:2 instructs, invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. 7 or 8 income streams. Diversification isn't just smart, it's biblical mandate. Here's your roadmap. You don't quit your job tomorrow. Your job is your first investor. It provides cash flow that funds your escape. But you become the Saturday morning CEO. Friday evening to Monday morning, that's when you build your exit. Most employees spend weekends recovering. They drink, watch sports, scroll social media, recharging just to be exploited again Monday. The owner spends weekends building freedom. You research stocks. You write content. You build the side business. You create digital products. You study real estate markets. You do this until your part-time income exceeds your full-time expenses. This is escape velocity. Once you hit this number, your employer no longer owns you. You're not there because you have to be. You're there because you choose to be. But here's the trap. Just as you're building momentum, the system will try to pull you back. Your boss will offer a promotion. More money, bigger title, corner office. You must be ruthless. That promotion is usually a trap, demanding more mental energy and time. I've watched people destroy their escape plans chasing titles that mean nothing. Senior Vice President. These titles cost the company nothing but mean everything to your ego. But that title isn't an asset. It's a liability. It's a golden handcuff. Proverbs 29:25 says, "Fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe." The fear of man includes caring what colleagues think when you turn down the promotion. Trust God's plan over man's approval. Do not be afraid to be a mediocre employee so you can be an exceptional owner. Give the company what they pay for, nothing more. Save your best energy for yourself. This isn't unethical. It's strategic. They're renting 8 hours. The other 16 belong to you and God. Now, all of this sounds good, but there's one biblical test that separates those who actually build wealth from those who just talk about it. Code number 5, the Matthew 25 talent test. Matthew 25, 14-30 tells the parable everyone knows, but few understand. A man gives 3 servants different amounts of money. The first 2 invest and double their money. The third buries his out of fear. When the master returns, he rewards the 2 who multiplied and punishes the one who merely preserved. Verse 26 records the master's harsh words. You wicked, lazy servant. You should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned I would have received it back with interest. Notice what the master calls the safe servant. Wicked and lazy. Not unfortunate, not careful. Wicked and lazy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. God expects multiplication. Preservation isn't enough. Saving money in a checking account earning 0% isn't faithful stewardship, it's failing the talent test. If you're just collecting a salary, paying bills, maybe saving a little, you're the servant who buried the talent. Luke 19:26 records. To everyone who has, more will be given. But as for the one who has nothing, even what they have will be taken away. Those who invest and multiply attract more resources. Those who hoard and hide lose even what they have to inflation. This is why the employment trap is spiritually dangerous. When you sell all your time for a salary and have nothing left to invest, to build, to multiply, you're functionally burying your talent. You might be a hard worker, but you're building someone else's kingdom. Proverbs 13:22 declares, a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. If you work 40 years for a salary, save a little, then retire on Social Security. You're not leaving an inheritance for your grandchildren. You're failing the biblical mandate. So, what does passing the talent test look like? It means taking a portion of your income and putting it to work. Buy dividend-paying stocks. Invest in real estate investment trusts. Start a side business. Create digital products. Build something that compounds while you sleep. There's a man who started with nothing. He worked a factory job, but lived on 70% of his income. The other 30%? He bought one rental property, then another. Within 15 years, 12 properties generating more monthly cash flow than his factory salary. He quit at age 42, spent the next 20 years traveling and doing mission work, all funded by properties. He passed the talent test. That's the model. Your job isn't your destiny, it's your first investor. You keep the job, but you kill the employee mentality. You stop seeing yourself as a worker and start seeing yourself as a business, currently selling services to a single client. Write this in the comments as a prophetic declaration. I will build systems that honor God and outlive me. Not, I hope to or I want to. Say, I will. Make it a public covenant. Proverbs 18:21 says, the tongue has the power of life and death. Speak life over your financial future right now. Let me bring this home with a test Solomon himself would give you. Ecclesiastes 12:1 says, remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come. The decisions you make in your productive years determine your experience in old age. Imagine you're 90 years old sitting in a rocking chair. You can no longer work. You look back at your life. What will you regret more? Will you regret that you didn't get that fancy title? Will you regret that you didn't buy the slightly nicer car? Or will you regret that you spent 40 years building someone else's dream while yours gathered dust? Will you regret that you sold your limited time on earth for paychecks that are long spent? Or will you smile knowing that you built something, that you multiplied your talents, that you left an inheritance, that you passed the test? Solomon, at the end of Ecclesiastes, writes, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. Notice he doesn't say wealth is meaningless. He says wealth without purpose is meaningless. But wealth built according to God's principles, wealth that honors Him, wealth that serves others, wealth that funds kingdom work, that wealth is sacred. You have today, you have right now. You can choose to keep selling your time, to work until you die, or you can choose to stop. You can choose to think like Solomon. You can choose to build like Joseph. You can choose to diversify like the Proverbs 31 woman. You can choose to systematize like the ant. The door to the cage is open. You've just been conditioned to believe you need permission to walk through it. You don't need permission. You need decision. Decide today that you will no longer sell your life by the hour. Decide that you will build systems. Decide that you will pass the talent test. Subscribe to Solomon Speaks. Turn on notifications. Share this with someone still trapped. And remember, God didn't design you to be a servant building someone else's kingdom. He designed you to be a steward building His kingdom through the resources He entrusts to you. May God bless every area of your life, your finances, family, faith, future. This doesn't end here. There's still more to discover.